But yeah, speaking of done with, did you hear what happened to our good friend Marjorie Green Taylor?
I did.
Ben, did you hear about this?
Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yes, if you listen to our friends on the right, her freedom of speech and First Amendment rights were violated.
This is from NBC News. Twitter suspended personal account of Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, yes, pardon me, for repeated violations of COVID misinformation. I guess they had a 5-strike policy, which thanks for the 5 strikes.
5 strikes is a fucking lot. Like, I mean, for a guy that has spent a significant amount of time in Facebook jail, I wish I would have gotten 5 strikes before I got fucking put in there.
And let's consider what we're talking about here. 5 strikes about misleading information that has caused death.
Right. Like, what does she misled people about? Oh, yeah. Really important shit about people's health.
Right. So she got a permanent suspension, according to the company's website, although she does have her official representative Twitter account.
As for Marjorie Taylor Greene, let me make sure that everybody is completely aware here that free speech has nothing to do with whether a private company that you signed a terms of service with when you signed up, whether or not they decide to boot you off of their platform or not, has nothing to do with the First Amendment or freedom of speech or free speech or anything along those lines. And please, if you're one of those people that is on social media saying those things, let me just tell you something. Let me come real close to the fucking screen real quick. I got something I need to tell you. You look like a fucking idiot.
What?
You don't know what you're fucking talking about, and it makes you look stupid. The First Amendment protects you from the government punishing you for your speech. The First Amendment protects you from the government. It does not, ladies and gentlemen, give you free reign to say whatever the fuck you want without repercussions and consequences for your words. There is nothing that says you can't be cannot come from consequences, cannot come from something that you say. When you say something to someone, one of the consequences might be they punch you in the face. Some of the consequences might be they get you fired from your job. There are consequences for your words, and that has nothing to do with freedom of speech, free speech, or the First Amendment. It has nothing to do with it. And if you and you see anybody saying that on social media, you know they are an idiot. You know that they are just they don't know what they're talking about, and they are an idiot. There's no other way to put it.
Topic Thunder, it's Topic Thunder. Just acknowledging knowledge with no scholarships. It's Topic Thunder, it's Topic Thunder. Breaking everything down, tech to politics. It's Topic Thunder, it's Topic Thunder. We don't tell you what you want, we just give you what you need. It's Topic Thunder, it's Topic Thunder. News, brews, and views from these Chi-Town streets. Topic Thunder.
Hello once again, ladies and gentlemen, to Topic Thunder. Thanks for joining us in the Topic Zone. The Topic Thunder. The Topic Zone? No, I botched that already. Not even 1 minute out of the gate, Brooks, and you biffed on it. Oh, boy. Anyway, it's Topic Thunder. They're in the Topic Thunder Thunderdome. There's a lot of T's in there. I'm Brooks. That's Ben. And thanks for joining us, folks. If you're joining us on Twitch, which we're trying to herd everybody into like some Australian shepherd dogs. It just get away from like the Facebook thing because it's icky over there. So thanks for joining us here, and we're over on Instagram on Topic Thunder Podcast on the IG. So check us out there. And I see people are we've got already a very very festive chat room. So yeah, the only interactive saloon that values your opinion, and we have a little drink to kick things off here, ladies and gentlemen. As you're maybe aware, this is Plungerhead red wine, as I again am abstaining from beer for the month of January. So we're gonna go with little red wine here. It's a Cabernet Sauvignon. Number 29 on Wine Enthusiast. I guess that's a magazine out of the top 100 wines of last year. So I've already been enjoying it a little bit, doing some show prep and kind of getting things together back here. So it is a delightful wine. It is very pleasant, has a nice aroma to it. It kind of doesn't have that like bitter red wine finish taste in your mouth that like my tongue's coated with grapes.
Yeah, I'm not a wine guy. I'll be honest, and it's probably one of those things like a lot of other things that when I was younger I didn't like it, and then I just have avoided it until I've been older now, and it's just not something that is a part of my daily regimen or even on my radar at all. Unfortunately, I bet I would like it if I had like a good wine.
I was about to say a strong recommendation. Make plans with you and the wifey for like a nice night out, like a good restaurant, and let them do the wine pairing.
Okay.
And whatever you order, just go whatever they recommend. No, seriously, because
Adrian's comment: if it doesn't taste like Hawaiian punch, I don't want it.
All right, well that's just the Texas there, right there.
Courtney in the comments, how many Brooks bolts does that wine get?
Brooks bolts
on a scale of 5.
Out of 5 Brooks bolts. I again not a wine connoisseur by any stretch of the imagination.
So you're just for your palate. How would you give it?
Oh, I like this. This is like a 4. If it gets better than this, and I have had like I guess better wines, not to be snobbish or anything, but like where like I actually bought a case that was Maynard's wine from Caduceus Vineyard. After tasting it, I liked it so much. Give me a case. Yeah, this is like a solid 4. Like I'm going to buy this bottle again if I see it, and maybe more than one if it's available. Just
interesting. Good.
Cool. Yeah. It's nice. It's really nice, man. But you didn't come here for Brooks's wine reviews and those come later. You came here to talk about the things that are going on and in between all the headlines. In the segment we originally call headlines. It's probably the number one topic of Topic Thunder since the inaugural episode. I think this is episode number 49, Ben.
Really?
So I think, should we do something for 50?
I think didn't we agree? We talked about this the other day off the air with ourselves. Didn't we say 100 was when we felt like was worth a big celebration?
I don't know if we're gonna make it. I don't mean the show. I mean if we're gonna be alive at this point.
Good point, because as the first headline tells us.
Yeah, we've been talking about it. You've been hearing about it. Omicron. Well, very interesting. This little bug, because we weren't sure where it came from, and now a study shows it may have come from mice.
Wait, not a lab in Wuhan?
Well, this variant. So again, very interesting origin of the actual virus itself. Everything that I understand about this, and I'm a pleb with a microphone and a laptop. Everything I understand about this is that it was most likely an accidental release. Like literally, it was somebody who was working, spilled something or left something on their shoe, tracked it out, and it just got out accidentally because apparently, the securities system and checks and balances at this particular lab weren't like, Fort Knox-ish, if that makes any sense.
A lot, though, doesn't it? That
the conspiracy is that the Chinese knew about it way too long before letting everybody else knew that it was already global, which we'll see in a couple stories how fast this actually really does move. There's Topic Thunder speed, there's the daily news cycle speed, and then there's COVID, and it laps everybody. Wow. So, that's where the real conspiracy, I think, lies, is that the Chinese failed to let the rest of the world know that this thing kind of got out. And while they tried to there's nothing going on here. We're shutting down a city of 21 million people.
Crazy. And then they blame it on somebody eating fucking bats or some shit.
and that just because that's the coronavirus mystique, I guess, if you want to call it that, it
Just does feed in. It does now you can see why the conspiracy theorists, right? That's another one of those things that if you want to believe there's some sort of nefarious plan where they're, Bill Gates and the ultra rich are trying to literally control the population through this vaccine. That's a jumping off point where you or very early on in this story, if the story was different, because the story was very different that was being put out at the beginning of this thing, and for you to have looked at this objectively and to come to that conclusion is that for me is pretty shocking. Like I didn't expect that to be where you thought, the conclusion that you've come to. I think that's very interesting.
yeah, again, the casual observer, but maybe more maybe more than just casual, just by nature of what I do for a living or whatever, and just that this is the biggest news story now of my lifetime, and if you know me, you know I'm a news junkie, so this is just two things that, like, I was supremely interested in, and I consumed as much as I could, and over the course now of 2 years, yeah, we've gotten away, by all accounts, the intelligence community and the scientific community at large have kind of gotten away from the idea that this was a released on purpose kind of scenario,
Okay.
that this was a test or something like that. Trust, like if it's the Chinese, like our intelligence community is gonna hone in and they let us know one way or the other. But the way things are going, the way it's understood is that it was just this lax security, lax preventative measures, and somebody just kind of had it on them or contracted it on the way out, and they didn't, do temperature check or whatever.
Well,
And
here we are now, 2 years later, Brooks, and man, you could make a very good argument, and I don't know if you can make an argument against it, that this wave of COVID is spreading way worse than the last one. And maybe it's just this area of the country, our area in particular, but it is out of control, dude. Out of control. My wife, Adrian, she works at the local school district, and she told me today they had 30 teachers out sick. 10 were planned. 20 more called in because either their children are sick or they have contracted the virus. Like, it is going after children, and whether or not it's putting them in the hospital or not is irrelevant. This round of it is still killing a lot of people. I know people personally, people that I spent time with just a couple of weeks ago who are now no longer living, and COVID is the reason for it. Like that, if it hasn't touched you, I don't know how at this point. If it hasn't touched close in your house, to someone, I just don't know how that's possible at this point.
and it's really sad because it was never just it doesn't get kids, and because you were saying it for a long time, and I know we'd have a tendency to do the Barry Horowitz little pat on the back here, but you've been saying it for a long time, and rightfully so, that kids probably were just had a better immune response, but they were passing it along. So here's my kid, kiss my kid, like, get you COVID, get intubated. We've come a long way to understand it, but check this out, because this is maybe a little bit why the Omicron variant is spreading so fast, right? And not making any assumptions here, I'm just reporting the news. So there was a study done, right? They call it genetic sequencing, when they take a certain, especially like research organizations and hospitals and universities, when they do a swab, a certain section of those go off for like genetic sequencing, and that's how they tell what variant it is, right? Oh, it has this DNA. Oh, okay, it's the Delta. Oh, it's Corona. What they were doing was studying the Omicron and the specific parts of the DNA inside the virus. And they came across a problem. Let me quote the study. The molecular spectrum of mutations acquired by the progenitor of Omicron was significantly different from the spectrum for viruses evolved in human patients, but was highly consistent with the spectra associated with evolution in a mouse cellular environment. Furthermore, Mutations and Omicron spike protein significantly overlapped with the SARS-CoV-2 mutations known to promote an adaptation to mouse hosts. So I will repeat. I'll go through that just one more really quick. What it's saying is that it acquired adaptations and acquired mutations to make it more quickly adaptable to its host. The study goes on. Our results suggest that the originator of Omicron jumped from humans back to mice, rapidly accumulated mutations conducive to infecting that host, then jumped back into humans, indicating an interspecies evolutionary trajectory for the Omicron outbreak.
Okay, I am way too dumb to wrap all that around my head really quick. So let me see if I can unfold that and put that around my brain here a second. What they're saying is COVID happens. We give COVID to the mice. COVID mutates in the mice and the mice give it back to this new variant back to humans. Am I understanding that correctly?
Let me refine that really quick, because you said it right when it hit the mouse.
Got it.
The virus mutated from us to attack mice, to infect mice.
Okay.
Right? You have to, because you have to give it credit for doing that.
Right.
Right? Then it basically took all the good stuff it ever wanted from the mouse as it evolved inside the mouse, and it was like, oh, how do I? Because I guess the story goes on to report that the mouse was the mice were initially resistant to it, so the virus adapted to that, which then it just has now this blueprint in its head of how to adapt to something, right?
Right.
Then learns how to jump back. And it probably wouldn't take much, because all of that information is trapped in the genetics of the virus, to jump back to a human and go, oh, I know you, but now I'm 2.0. I've got this new knowledge, bro. And remember that the way we described how the spike protein kind of tries to penetrate that moving shield. Now I've got like phasers 2.0 to block your silly shield, Starfleet. I'm the superior Romulans. And you have a Star Trek episode. Well, here we are, the Star Trek episode where the Enterprise is taking a beating because the enemy has figured out a way to break our shields.
This is never going to end. And this is just a cycle that just is going to continue to happen, right? Because this is spread worse because we're taking less precautions. The Republicans and conservatives are hellbound on making sure the kids are in school. The problem is, as we were just pointing out, there are no teachers. You can't send kids to school when there's no one to teach them anything. It's a basic problem. It sounds stupid to say it out loud, but that's where we are. These people are like, no, you have to send these kids back because we can't. Our society isn't set up for kids to not be babysat by schools. Adults can't work a regular schedule if kids cannot spend the majority of their day inside of a school watched by adults.
Causes a fundamental problem to capitalism, doesn't it?
It is grinding it to an absolute halt in a lot of ways.
But I do all want to say we got to be partisan here. It's not just Republicans that want kids back in school. Chicago's very own mayor, Lori Lightfoot, is adamant against the simple requests from the teachers union to have testing, to have better masks, and I think contact tracing or a better response. I forgot the third point that I was reading from the CTU Twitter, but it got buried in some unicorns. I don't know.
And doing nothing.
Yeah, but she's adamant against getting those kids back in school, and that's
the narrative. That's just falling for the stupid narrative. It makes no sense. You're sending teachers. They cannot go to school if they're sick or if someone in their house is sick. They're not going to be able to go to school and teach your kids anything. But if they're home and they're homeschooling and they're on video, I know that's not ideal, ladies and gentlemen. I know it's not ideal. The teachers would tell you it's not ideal. The kids tell you it's not ideal. But what's less ideal than all of that is this fucking wildfire of a virus we have going on that is seeming to be attacking kids who, ironically, were the last people to get vaccinated. I don't know if there's a correlation between that.
They when they test any kind of new medication or vaccine like that, they always start with like the healthy adult population first, and then they gradually work their way down. So yeah, so you saw that in real time, but
Right.
that's very typical. They'll test more on children before we'll begin in pigs.
But I'm saying, but doesn't that also lead to it to be where those were the least protected when this new variant came around? Because
sure.
we're still testing and making sure that it was safe, so that it allowed this new round to really be very bad. And it's like, yeah, the symptoms are like the flu, but like we talked about before, it's not just the flu, and it's not just the flu for everyone. And if you get fucking COVID pneumonia, you're almost certain to be done.
Man, we've identified, but have not fully gotten the grip of long COVID. We've identified several like wow, you're 6 months out, you're still having trouble breathing. Wow, 6 months out, you're still having trouble remembering things, or like just a general fog about you. Like that's not the flu. So there are other things. There's studies done on kidney damage, on liver damage, vascular damage, heart damage. So that kind of dispels the myth right there that it's a more mild version of it. Bullshit it is, because if it's carrying the same long-term symptoms as the Delta or Alpha variant, and that's the one we should have been worried about that, then we're all screwed. And we're all going to have cardiovascular damage, and our livers are fucked, and our kidneys are shot before we even get a chance to do it ourselves.
Dude, this is crazy. Ben Swan is somebody that I follow on social media, and he has long been an anti-vaxxer. And check out this thing he posted
Oh boy,
8 hours ago. Data from several countries now show clearly that infection rates are higher in vaccinated people. Hospitalizations of vaccinated people with Omicron are rising very fast, and the data between vaccinated and unvaccinated people is telling. The Danish government reported on January 3rd that only 24% of the people hospitalized with Omicron during the late November and December were unvaccinated, while 76% were vaccinated, including 18% who were boosted. Other countries like Iceland and Canada are reporting similar trends. Could these trends be proof of ADE, antibody-dependent enhancement?
oh, that thing. Okay.
Yeah, ADE is a phenomenon in which virus-specific antibodies enhance the entry of the virus, and in some cases, the replication of virus. In other words, raising antibodies that don't protect, but actually make the viral protection even worse. So I'm curious if that's true. If that's accurate, I question whether it's accurate, and so does Facebook, because they put that fucking disclaimer on there. I would like to see that, but if this is accurate, that would be very interesting. But I don't think it's accurate. But let's just imagine for a second that it is.
My first two thoughts were, if you stood by your data, you post your data, whether it's a news article or a scientific study that you've read and consumed and come to that conclusion. And two, it's really easy. So, okay, all right. So I believe you that the quoted a statement like 24% of unvaccinated persons were in the hospital, but 70 blah 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 percent of COVID were vaccinated people.
24% unvaccinated were hospitalized, while 76% were vaccinated.
I guess we'd have to know the difference then between what you're in a hospital for. Are you in a hospital because of COVID, or because this is such a virulent version of it and so contagious that you came to the hospital for a surgery on your ankle, and the phlebotomist that came and drew your blood just had it, and boom, here we are. You're in the hospital for surgery, but now you tested positive before going into the OR.
Yeah.
Again, when it comes to data,
it flies in the face of the data that we've seen here in the United States, coming out of hospitals here in the United States. It totally contradicts everything that we know of what we're being told of the virus.
and just on a legal level, there'd be a full stop from various health organizations and hospital organizations, and maybe even the CDC and the pharmaceuticals, if the vaccines were actually making it so that you became more infected or more easily infected. And so well, what, see then the part of me that kind of worked a pandemic and sat in an ER and didn't know what the fuck was going on, and we're sitting in almost like a foxhole with your friends thinking like, shit, I don't know if I'm gonna get it, and I've seen what happens. That's real, that happened.
Right.
Then you get fucks like this that like, well, it's just the flu. Well, if it's just the flu, then what are you worried about if you get it?
Right.
What you see, it's the way they slice this logic, and the way that their logic is like this round ball that is always spinning and not never like in a solid spot. It always turns and twists to meet whatever moment or whatever emotional view that they want to express, and it kills people at this point. It's killing people. It's making people very, very sick, including children, and we still do not understand for how long this is going to go. If this is a situation where Omicron infects, let's just say 40% of the population of the United States. We're talking about like 150 million people that have now long COVID, which again, we've already talked about the systemic organ damage it can do, the vascular damage. We talked about the brain fog of microaneurysms in your head.
Right.
Like, dude, this is okay. That's acceptable. It's not by any insane, rational person. And there's just a very, very now violent and vocal minority pushing all this narrative. And most of them are doing it for money. As we'll get to after I tell you that the new data from Nova Scotia, the good people at Dalhousie University, show that Omicron was in wastewater weeks before it was identified by the province, and even before the COVID-19 variant was reported by South Africa.
Huh.
They found our team detected Omicron retrospectively. Get it? Retrospective. Hey, in Nova Scotia wastewater in mid-November, and will be able to provide further information in the future. They studied wastewater and said, "Whoa, this has been in the system for weeks," and it just got now. They do test that stuff, and they found Omicron on there. So again, what we said. This virus is at least 2 to 3 weeks ahead of us on every front. Every front.
That's scary to think about.
That's why ring the alarms. That's why it's so important. And now look, Omicron, you can get COVID again. And I know people that have gotten it twice now in the last 6 months, and they're vaccinated.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. I have been in close contact with it a bunch and have avoided it so far. And who knows? But I've had it before, and I'm fully vaccinated. So I will be a test subject here, because if there's a possibility, I have come into contact with so many people in the last 2 weeks that have been out with it, and have been or that have been in contact with people that have had it. Mm-hmm. So the fact that it's pretty much a miracle at this point that I haven't gotten it.
How do you know?
And how do I know that I haven't? Right.
That's the thing, because are you testing yourself?
Not every day, no. And it's been more of a kind of, I haven't had the symptoms, which previous weeks, I was getting sick constantly. Remember for like 2 or 3 months, every 2 weeks I was sick with some other bullshit. And I have been fairly healthy for the past probably 3 weeks. Nothing. Feeling good.
I'm not saying, I'm just saying, like, you don't know you have it.
No, I'm saying that's just it, right? I don't know I have it, but I'm also not feeling it. So, I don't know. I'm in this weird spot. Like, I can't. Do you test every day?
Okay, so I mean, in my opinion, we should have been doing that from the beginning. Testing should just have been part of our lives at this point, and not like this weird thing where we don't have enough of them and that they're empty shelves where the tests used to be.
Right, because we're trying to get home tests, and Adrian couldn't find any. There are 0 out there available right now. So yeah, we definitely could have and should have ramped up the availability of those and made them available to everybody, free of charge.
And here's again, all right, you guys are so liberal. Here's a big F you to the Biden administration. That man could still use the Defense Authorization Act and federal law force companies to all, whatever companies can or have the means, start making tests. That's what they did in World War II. That act is there that they can turn, and we need that. We need that. We
that
need
is that
billions of tests.
what our
We
tax
need
dollars should go to that, right? Our collective tax dollars should go to everybody getting as many tests as they need to test as often as possible. Yeah.
That's how you go. That's how you test out. You test out of this situation. That's positive.
Home.
Isolate.
Home. Yep.
Yeah, you're positive. You isolate. Test again until 2 negative tests in 48 hours. You should be good.
And
But,
also, what I've seen happen a couple of times is one person in the household tests positive. Everybody gets tests right away to see if they're positive too. Everyone else in the house is negative, and then a week later, they're getting sick, and suddenly they're testing positive. So there seems to be a delay in transmission too. Like once one person has it, it doesn't necessarily mean everyone in the house has it right away.
Yeah, that they call that an incubation period. So it's about 3 to 5 days from what they would say, like day 0 from contact. There's an incubation period of 3 to 5 days that you could be testing negative all the way through, still be contagious. And after that 3 to 5 days, then you'll start testing positive, and then onset of symptoms and such. So that's how messed up. It has a cloaking device too, as opposed, and these crazy like Klingon lasers. Romulan, I said before. No. Let me. One of the best parts about the entire COVID situation is it's really kind of weeded out the dummies in your life and in your social media, right?
it is exposed the people that like I could tolerate, but now I know how dumb you are, and it becomes much more difficult. Like I try to be like that person that's like, no, don't unfriend people. For the longest time I was like, don't unfriend people, that's don't worry about it. But no, like some people need to be just fucking unfriended, and it's you realize just how dumb people are, and they can't be helped.
Well, do you know what colloidal silver is?
No, but it sounds like something from the 1800s.
You're not wrong, my friend. In late December, right-wing personality and relentless headline chaser Candace Owens generated a tidal wave of news when she exuberantly declared her love for colloidal silver, a very old faux medical treatment, making a strange but unsurprising comeback in the pandemic age. In a post highlighted by liberal activist and tech entrepreneur William Legate, and then reported on by Daily Beast Will Sommer, Owens said she takes a teaspoon a day of colloidal silver, which is more than enough to cause the product's best known side effect, argyria. What is that?
Is that what this guy in the picture has?
It can turn one's skin a permanent shade of blue-gray. That is not makeup.
This gentleman looks exactly like Grandpa Smurf. Like that. Oh. That has to be what people call him. Like, hey, Grandpa Smurf.
No, they say that there's method, but then there's that guy.
Come on, and of course it's Candace Owens touting this shit. Like
not only Alex Jones.
At the same time, while they will say that vaccines are untested and you don't know what's in them and they're out to get you, they'll believe this shit and literally put this shit that will turn them blue in their bodies. Horse dewormer. They'll put it in their bodies and tell other people like, yeah, you should do this too because my doctor said. It's just like, here we are. This stupid shit. It's all along the way. Hydroxychloroquine, it's all on it. Bleach, all of it.
Well, that just kind of brings us up to then this last little bit of, I don't know, anecdote. The anti-vax leader has urged followers to drink their own urine to fight COVID. And this one's from the Daily Beast, so you know it's written well. Anti-COVID-19 vaccine police leader Christopher Key has a new quarter-baked conspiracy theory for his anti-vax followers to use to cure themselves of COVID-19. Drink their own urine. The antidote, this is a quote. The antidote that we have seen now, and we have tons and tons of research, is urine therapy. Okay, and I know a lot of you thought this. Let me try that again. Okay, and I know to a lot of you this sounds crazy, but guys, God's given us everything we need. He goes on to say about urine, this has been around for centuries. When I tell you this, please take it with a grain of salt. Now drink urine.
It's crazy. Also, by the way, welcome to the Thunderdome, Ms. Pebbles. She had commented there. I'm new here. However, I feel that vaccinated people are more likely to seek professional medical attention, whereas unvaccinated folks are more likely to take a spoonful of Vitamita, which, by the way, if you haven't seen that episode of I Love Lucy, is tremendous. And some of Mama's gravy after nailing a raccoon's tail to the front door to chase away the plague, rather than just go to the hospital. Hence the discrepancy in the hospitalization numbers. That's a great point, right? That's a great counterpoint. Well, yeah, the unvaccinated people aren't going to the hospital because they don't think it's a big deal.
Ms. Pebbles, welcome to the show. Yeah. Hello, and thanks for joining us. That is a very astute.
Silver, your own pee, horse dewormer, hydroxychloroquine, all of this bleach, these different things to just get around. If you get vaccinated, stay away from people, wear a mask in public when you're particularly when you feel ill. This would all go away much sooner, but we have people that just won't. They'll listen to anything other than the scientific evidence and the people that know this shit.
Sound medical advice.
They will literally listen to anyone other than the people that have spent their whole lives studying this shit.
And
they'll listen to the guy, that's a Robert Malone asshole, who hasn't worked in vaccines in over 30 years. Like he's now being touted as some sort of expert in vaccines, and out here, another person that's making a name and making money for himself, grifting by saying shitty things about Anthony Fauci.
And that's what it is. Who, by the way, graduated #1 in his class in Cornell. You know what that means? He doesn't have to beg for work.
Right.
Ever.
Anthony Fauci has held the same role since 1984.
6 presidents. 6 different presidents.
He's been resoundingly recognized as the leader in his field. Oh, but he botched AIDS. Everybody botched AIDS. It was 1980. The science wasn't there in 1980s, in the early 80s when AIDS was a pandemic. They learned from it, and that's why this time around they're smarter about things of this nature, viruses and the spread of the viruses and how to contain the spread of viruses. They learn from things that have happened in the past. You trust that this man who has had his job for this long and been trusted by presidents of both sides have trusted this man for decades to be the leading epidemiologist and virologist in this country. And now, because he doesn't agree, because it doesn't fit your narrative, he's suddenly the bad guy? Fuck off. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
We have a bit of breaking news. Apparently, the Chicago. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but I'm going to anyway. I'll blame the wine. The Chicago Teachers Union is currently taking a vote, and I would imagine that's a back to work vote. But I don't know. That could be we're gonna pay for a blimp that has a big middle finger painted to it that says "Here's to you, Lori." I don't know. But yeah, apparently that analogy didn't go very far. But let me get it clear. Like we botch everything at the beginning of a new virus because that's not where our society is pointed. we'd rather
We're reactive.
give
We talked about this before. Yep.
yeah, we'd rather give the boys and girls guns as opposed to microscopes. We'd rather like sports is your way out, or as opposed to science or math or the arts or uh, history or politics. So very narrow-minded. Our pathways to success for the rank and file who don't have a trust fund or endowment, or parents who can at least take out loans to get their kids into a better educational or skill labor environment, right? Most unions, I'll guarantee it, and as a kid, union kid myself, I know how my dad got in the union because of family. And I really don't know too many union people outside of the guys that sat on that 5 or 7 year wait list to get in. Most people I know had inside, like, we'll get you in, we got you in. So that's a very closed network too. So when people start railing against, like, oh, don't send them to college, it's skilled labor. Yeah, if you have the connections to get in to skilled labor, sure.
And
But
Chris is telling us that the CTU is voting on a proposal may return to school tomorrow. I think they're really kind of, these teachers at the Chicago Teachers Union, they are kind of the canary in the mine kind of thing on this whole thing. Because if they decide that they're not going back to school, it will embolden teachers everywhere across this country to say, you know what, it's not worth it. We're not paying teachers nearly enough to put up with this virus the way that they're dealing with it now. It's just putting themselves in harm's way for almost no money. It's not worth it. And it's the same thing that's happening with your local, fast food restaurants and retail. Those people aren't making enough money to go to work sick. It's just not worth it to them. And so you're seeing a grind there. Things are grinding to a halt there as well. Any fast food place you go through the line, the drive-through, it takes forever because there's like 2 people working the entire restaurant.
man, we did a wee bit of grocery shopping yesterday, and we went to 2 separate grocery stores, and we both had the same report back. Man, there were shelves that were empty. We're like, I know it's like
There's shortages of everything right now.
there's shortage of everything everywhere, and there was a story that didn't make the show and probably should have now, especially that I'm talking about it. But Gigi sent me a link, and we were talking about it on the side about how it's from the people who are picking the food, but then the people that are delivering the food to the processing plant or slaughtering the livestock.
Right.
Those people are missing from the very, very, very bottom of the food chain, of the processing food chain, how it gets from farm to table, I guess, if you want to say it like that. It hits everywhere. So again, we're having a kind of come to Jesus moment, if you like that a little bit, because there are people who have been so like, oh, all I need to do is worry about myself and take care of my family, and that's all I need to do because everything's been so plentiful, and I've been so lucky to be an American, and even though I had nothing to do with it. And you have those people who don't understand this disruption and don't understand that society, when it's running right, worries about the lesser because the top end will take care of itself when it's running right. But it's wildly imbalanced right now. And again, like we were saying, we would rather have kids play with guns than let's say telescopes.
Yeah.
Hey, telescopes. You all remember when I told you that we were going to launch the successor to the Hubble telescope? It was called the James Webb telescope, and there were launch delays because, one, they were running out of hydrogen.
Yeah.
They eventually got the bird up, and it actually launched on Christmas Day, which is pretty cool too. And it has met several milestones. So it is now what they call fully deployed. And it's a pretty cool picture there. If you scroll down, that's what the sucker looks like. So that's out in space right now, moving its way out to a point in space called L2. Now, what is L2? Well, L2 is this weird point above the Earth, and there's a link down there, Ben, if you want to find it. It's a parking spot called the Earth-Sun Lagrange Point 2, and it shows that there's this weird spot where the gravity of the Earth, the Moon, and the Sun are all kind of equibalanced. that this particular object can sit. It's far enough away. It's like 930,000 miles away from Earth. So if this thing breaks, there's no going up to get it and fix it.
Is it this what we're talking about?
Yep, it sits at a point with gravity that it's doesn't have to expend a lot of fuel to maintain its orbital platform in its spot. And this is the thing that's going to literally, like, when it's officially up and running, because this sucker is going to take a while to kind of get instruments running. And there's a crazy like 18 mirror telescope there. If you remember famously when the Hubble went up, the first picture was blurry because there was an imperfection in the mirror. It wasn't ground properly. So because it was in low or Earth orbit, they sent up a shuttle crew and they basically gave the Hubble telescope a pair of glasses. And that's how we were able to like use the Hubble, because it was a huge joke and an egg on the face of NASA, because they made one screw up. The same, we landed people on the moon safely.
You guys fucked up. It's like, yeah, you've done a million things right, but everyone wants to harp on the one thing you fucked up. Yeah.
So they slash funding, right? And, we don't have a shuttle program anymore. We don't go to space regularly like we should anymore. We don't have a moon base anymore. We don't have Moonraker. Oh, we actually do have Moonraker, right? So this thing is going to blow our minds away as far as like the quality of pictures. It's an infrared device, so it can peer much farther than any visible spectrum. Really, really, really great science is going to start coming out. And they say about the next 120 to 180 days, because that is how long it's going to take to calibrate all of the instruments. And I guess the instruments have to get to like super cold too, because that's how they're built to operate. So like we can't even like turn them on until they hit the temperature. Like what? This is so cold that they have to like special metals, and that's why they use gold on the main mirrors. It's a beautiful, beautiful piece of human achievement that this is something that it should be on the news every day. Oh, let's get an update from the James Webb telescope. No,
right. Fact, that would be something that would be advantageous, right?
Well, I don't even think it has a camera to like look back at the Earth. They're like, hey, this is where I am. In fact, that next story that I sent you, Ben, there's a video of the last time that we will actually visually see this wonderful piece of $10 billion equipment. This was the European Space Agency video. And what you're about to see is live space. So that's it. That's the telescope all kind of like bundled up, right? And just kind of like ejected from the booster rocket, which is now going to start kind of floating around. And that's what the camera's attached to, is this booster rocket. So that's it. This thing is just going to drift off to its spot almost a million miles away from Earth to deliver science, to literally help us try to study the very beginning of the universe and kind of add to our knowledge of this fantastically wild and imaginative thing that we live in. And that's cool too, because there it is. There's like the solar panel deploying, like that's happening, right? And it's the sun's reflection, so it's fucking up all the cameras. That's it. That's the last time we're going to see it.
And it just goes off millions of miles. Think about that.
Just like 930,000 miles away. Let's just round up, right? Just a million miles, right?
That's a long way away. How long does it take to get that far away?
It should be there. I believe their target is like the end of this month for it to arrive in like their parking spot.
Wait,
but then
travel a million miles in a month? That seems fast.
Oh yeah, man. Like there's no friction out there. So whatever speed that thing shot it off at, that's how fast it's going. Like
that speed. Gotcha.
Yeah. That's the essence of a vacuum. There's no friction there to slow that thing down.
Yeah. Interesting.
Plus it has its little boosters too, and it has a fuel cell, but that's why they're parking it in this spot that's so far away that extend the life. I think that by putting it in that spot, they were able to not only fit this telescope in that rocket because it didn't need such a big fuel cell, but they were able to extend the life of the device for like 10 years by figuring out like if we put it here, and there's a bunch of different points around the Earth. The P2, I think there's like all the way at the P5. I didn't know this. I was fascinated by this. I was digging into it, like that they could park different observatories, let's call it, for minimal fuel usage because of the intersection of gravitational fields.
Interesting.
Right? That's why we did it here on Topic Thunder. And we're that's been a lot. That's been a heavy discussion. So let's get to something that really warms the soul. Maybe not. That was probably a really bad thing to say when I'm about to tell you that South Korea warns of feline fire starters after finding cats started 107 blazes in just 3 years.
What?
Now, this is from People Magazine. Keep your cats out of the kitchen and away from candles. According to CNN, officials in South Korea, really, do we have to make these jokes about cats and fire and South Korea? Anyway, in South Korea recently found information that sparked their concern in December.
Oh, come on.
The Seoul Metropolitan Fire and Disaster Department. Come on, you can't shorten that up somehow. Released a statement that cats caused 107 house fires in the country between January 2019 and November 21. 4 people were injured in the fires started by felines, according to this statement. The Seoul Metropolitan Fire and Disaster Department believes that most of the 107 fires started after cats jumped on electric stoves and turned on the appliances by accidentally pressing their buttons. When left on for long periods, electric stoves can get overheated and cause fires, per CNN. So I want to point out one thing that I found particularly disturbing here, that in half of these cat fires, the owners were home, which to me seals the deal.
Yeah, cats are murderous monsters.
Cats want to steal your soul. They want to kill you and steal your soul to extend that. The cats have 9 lives. Yeah, because they've taken them.
House cats are fucking weird, man. I had a house cat and he was awesome, but they're fucking weird. They do weird
They
stuff.
are. Like, I get it. They're when they want to be cute and cuddly and fun, they're great. When they're being, and I should talk, when they're being mercurial and emotional, like, I don't know what, they're assholes. Like, well, I'm feeding you. I bought you a box with granules to shit in, and this is how you repay me? No.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd ever get another cat. Yeah.
Dogs all the way. When's the last time you heard about a drone saving somebody's life?
Never. Usually it's drones taking people's lives.
Right? So check this out. Now, of course, leave it to Sweden. They're again, like, I know it's really freaking cold up there, but man, so some of those Scandinavian and Northern European countries really kind of got it right. A man is alive in Sweden today thanks to, in part, a drone. A 71-year-old man experienced cardiac arrest while shoveling snow in December and was resuscitated by a nearby doctor after a drone flew in a defibrillator. Someone experiencing cardiac arrest needs help within 10 minutes in order to survive. Everdrone's emergency medical aerial delivery, EMADE, see South Korea? They made a nice little acronym, EMADE, service is designed to deliver help as quickly as possible. It allows emergency dispatchers to send a drone carrying the device to a caller's home, kickstarting the life-saving process before the ambulance arrives at their home. In this particular patient's case, it took 3 minutes for the service to deliver the defibrillator to the home. A bystander who happened to be a doctor on his way to the job,
that fucking lucky.
Right, used the AED after providing CPR. That's awesome.
That is incredible.
That's awesome.
But it also is very lucky, like, that there was a doctor there. Because, like, you could fly in a defibrillator to my house right now, and I would have no fucking idea how to use that thing. I wouldn't even know where to start.
Okay, so first of all, I think one of the things that should be taught in high school, at every high school, is CPR.
Sure.
First of all, because in CPR class, they'll teach you how to use an AED. And I will tell you this. They have made the modern AED for people just like you who just said, I have no idea how to use this. The thing has literal, very simple, very, I don't want to say childlike drawings, but like very understandable instructions. And then when you open it up and actually turn it on, it just talks to you now
Oh,
and tells you what to do.
I love
It-
that. I wish everything was like that.
It literally the paddles that you're supposed to put on, the pictures on where they're supposed to go.
Yes. Yes. Give me all of that. I love that. Yes.
And they'll tell you how to do the test. It'll read the life signs and the heart rhythm, and it'll tell you shock necessary. Press button. Stand away. 3, 2, 1. Shock. Like it tells you everything. So that's the beauty of of this technology.
If that's the case, then then this thing is a fucking lifesaver for sure.
Right?
Because you could put these things even in places where like people lived kind of remotely. You could have these kind of things stored someplace that has a solar panel that charges it and makes sure that it's charged at all times. And then when necessary, it activates and fucking flies to wherever. That's incredible. And just not just a defibrillator. What else could they?
I was just thinking of like, what if people survived an avalanche, but that are in such a remote area that we have to kind of come together and kind of figure out like how are we going to save? You could get them supplies and get them like medicine or whatever you need. Just who gives a fuck about the drone?
Right? Yeah, it's not a human. It's not. Yeah, it's just a fucking robot. Yeah,
it's a one-way trip. It was a good drone.
Thanks, Droney.
I loved it. I love my drone. Actually, it's Ben, as we're going to find out later in the show, it's not actually impossible to love a piece of metal. That's what we call a tease in the business.
We have talked about this a lot. And if I saw correctly, we have a return of one of our show favorites.
We will be checking in on one of our show friends later on after we talk about big balls. Yeah, I wrote that headline
because we've talked a lot about COVID. If this is COVID related, can we just pass on this?
Now, as far as I know, all this has to do with is big balls. Literally, there are giant. I had no idea that through all my Graham Hancock excitements and wormholes, I had no idea this existed. But apparently, there's this network of 300 or so, as far as they know so far, of these ginormous stone spheres. Some of them weighing 13 tons.
Look at that standing next to this guy here.
Think about it. Yes,
like a human being standing next to it.
I mean, the story opens with remember Indiana Jones and the Lawyers of the Lost Ark, or blah, 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 blah. But I mean, that's the size of that boulder, right? That it was chasing Jones. And so, of course, like we've known about this from like, I guess they were first discovered in the 1940s. So, of course, we know human beings. Some people took them, some people destroyed them, some people moved them. They tried to dynamite them, try to crack them in half. So who knows how many were lost to the greed and ignorance of mankind.
Those are perfect spheres, smooth spheres. Like how did they make those things that smooth and proportioned correctly? It's how hard it is to do a circle properly. Just draw a circle, let alone make a sphere
out of a form of granite. Yeah, it's a form of granite that's like super hard too. So it takes. Okay, so
right. So it's not like you could just fucking easily chip it away. Of course, it's also super hard. So of course, human beings, millions or thousands of years ago, certainly they had the capabilities of that. Considering we don't have the capabilities of that in 2021.
Funny enough, they estimate. Okay, this is the thing about this: we don't know how old they are. There's no way to accurately tell how old these things are. Well, yeah, there's no way to carbon date it because there's no like organic material there. Oh. So, and there's no way to like, this chip was done in 140 AD because there's no, that's just not how that works. So they suspect that they were made around 600 AD, but even by that date, they didn't have the tools to make them according to our current model of history. The tools just simply did not exist to do that level of work at that time period that our current model suggests.
Mm-hmm.
They're now UNESCO, so they're protected by the United Nations as a historical site to humanity.
Yeah.
Some of these as you might could probably think, like, why would anybody do something like this to make a network of 300 plus that we know of stones, boulders? That's a lot of work for what?
For what purpose? Yeah, to what means? For decoration?
To show off?
That's a lot of work for decoration.
They built the pyramids to honor their dead and for burials. Really? Because they haven't found a single mummy in single fucking pyramid. So maybe there's another reason they built them.
Right?
Maybe.
Think about that for a second. That there's a myth, right, that we're taught in cartoons and everything that those things were built as tombs. But there's never been any evidence to suggest that there's a tomb anywhere in those pyramids. There's no
Ryan Hansen hits on it. Think about Easter Island. We have no idea why those heads are there. And by the way, those heads have bodies that are buried. Legitimate, like I'm not like there's little bodies on those ginormous Brother Don heads.
I didn't know that. Brother Don heads.
That's a very inside joke. But like, yeah, like there are they're buried. So
wow, that's incredible.
We don't know why. If you I want to just get one more sentence from this article. Also might have been arranged into massive patterns that had astronomical significance, as many of the balls were found in alignments consisting of straight lines and curved lines, as well as triangles and parallelograms.
If you don't understand that every day Grant Hancock is legitimized more and more and more. That's what's so incredible, is that when you add in the two things of we know, or we are fairly certain that the tools did not exist to do many things like these balls, like the pyramids, like Göbekli Tepe or whatever. I always say that wrong.
Yeah, Göbekli Tepe, yeah.
The tools don't exist to not only build those things, but then also bury them, right? They didn't do that with shovels, right? You don't bury entire cities like Göbekli Tepe with shovels and by hand. It's simply not possible. And when you take that into account with that, and then how they are aligned precisely to very, very fine degrees aligned with the stars, there's obviously a connection that the people that built those had to the stars, and an intimate knowledge and of exact knowledge to be able to pinpoint with such accuracy. Those two things are mind-boggling. And if you just soak that in, and it should blow your fucking mind.
It's almost like, and hear me out, somebody was trying to tell us something. Right? That, well, what's the best way we know how to make something permanent? Etch it in stone. All right, how do we do that, Josiah? I don't know, Ebenezer. Why don't we ask this guy who's got this weird spacesuit on with wings and he's glowing? Maybe he'll know.
Yeah, that guy that can float stuff with his fucking mind.
We'll etch that into stone too later on, just as a big thank you, and let everybody know that we didn't think of this on our own. We had some help.
Right.
But it's
keep in mind, there's stories, of course. I don't mean to talk over you there, but stories of these men in white, right? White robes, white beards, white hair that flew in from the heavens and then exited back to the heavens. There are many tales from early civilizations that talk and describe, and keep in mind, these are civilizations on all points of the globe that have, until recent history, never knew of each other's existences. We're telling tales of the same, describing the same men.
What's the big story in Christianity?
Oh, so many.
Guy that came from up there down here, and died, and then came back, and when he returns, it's going to be
the end of days.
The end of days.
Yeah. Oh, that's
totally different. Totally different.
Right. There's this man with bearded man who walked Earth in robes and helped people of Earth. Did nothing but help people. He just so happened to look exactly like the people that flew in from the heavens, hundreds of thousands of years ago, and then mysteriously disappeared right around the time that these giant sheets of ice dropped on the entire planet. They decided to skedaddle right ahead of that. And there's there's almost no, other than these types of what's the word I'm looking for, structures, to even without those structures there would be no evidence that something like this existed. None. Think about that.
I want to point out that Aunt Chris, Mummified Cats was the name of my garage clarinet band in high school.
You
True
guys
story.
a great album. I heard it once. It was solid.
It's on deep lockdown. It's on deep lockdown. But yeah, again, these things are laid out there as hey, pay attention to me. This took some oomph to get done. We didn't do this just because.
Well, it wasn't decorations. So you got to get past this idea that it was any sort of decoration or monument to
homage to a leader or something. Like, get over yourself. It's bigger than that, right? Yeah. And a couple more stories before we actually just one more story before we get to a really groovy update of a friend of the show. But speaking of looking up, and I put these stories back to back for a reason. Maybe there's a reason that all of these ancient civilizations are constantly telling us to look up. Hey, over New Year's Day, a meteor exploded over Pittsburgh that was the equivalent of 30 tons of TNT. Did you hear about that on any major news network?
No.
This thing was seen streaking across the southwestern sky. There's videos of it like zooming across the sky in Arizona, only to explode in just over the skies of Pittsburgh. This is from the Register. A loud boom heard over the skies of Pittsburgh on New Year's Day was due to an exploding meteor with the blast energy equivalent of 30 tons of TNT.
Jesus.
Now, what's 30 tons of TNT? It's nothing compared to, I guess, like the first atomic bomb that we dropped, right? But maybe put a different way. This meteor was cruising in at a swift 45,000 miles an hour. And by the explosion that they didn't know happened until they went back to the record, like, oh yeah, there's like a seismic, our seismology equipment picked this up. And that's how they were able to determine that through science and math that this thing would probably weigh half a ton. Jeez. Half a ton, cruising at 45,000 miles an hour.
Unbelievable.
Just happened to explode over a major city in America.
Jesus. By the way, Billy Whack coming in late, but coming in hot. 30 tons of TNT, a terrible, terrible AC/DC cover band. By the way, you came to the show late, and that's why Courtney says, and there he is, because there was a Magic Johnson reference earlier, Billy Whack. So
it was, you missed out.
Everyone's anxious to hear your Magic Johnson thoughts.
I was waiting. I was like, oh, is he on? Is he on? Because there was a Sodexo reference.
I knew everybody needed it. So.
Whoa! Whoa! Well, okay. Well, stick a magnet on your arm, sir, and welcome to the zombie nation. It can be worse, Billy Whack. It can be worse, or it could be better. You could be in love with an ashtray. You heard me right. Infamous man who married his sex doll is now in love with an ashtray.
Our guy.
The Kinky Beefcake is proof that love is strange, or at the very least, viral. Yuri Tolochko, We love Yuri. Although Yuri's Yuri's from Kazakhstan. They're having problems right now, from what I understand. He famously married his specially designed sex doll named Margot. We covered that story here, here on this show.
Yes.
Last November in a wedding ceremony attended by dozens of guests. He's found a new love match. A giant ashtray he wants to adorn with an artificial vagina. Where did the pansexual 36-year-old hairball of muscle meet his bizarre new love? At the club, of course. And the proudly bald social media star from Kazakhstan noticed the ashtray a while ago. He claimed it was when he arranged a photo shoot with the butt receptacle. It's the New York Post. So they're as cheeky as we like it here on the show. During a paid personal appearance at the venue. Man, really? This guy does paid appearances?
Oh, man. If that's the case, that means he has contact info.
Folks, if you ever wondered where the eventual Topic Thunder t-shirt and mug money went, this story.
Yes.
It was during his personal paid appearance that he discovered he had feelings for the ashtray. Goodbye, fleshy, lifelike silicone. This daring dude is into hardcore heavy metal now. And there's a guy, there he is. He's kind of
there's a video. There's a 34-second video that I feel like we have to watch.
I think we have to. I think that's Margot.
There he is.
But he divorced Margot.
I hate to admit that he's doing this for attention, but he's obviously doing this for attention.
He's got ours.
But he is a first ballot Topic Thunder Hall of Famer. Like, again, if we do Hall of Fame inductions, he's a first ballot Topic Thunder Hall of Famer.
Absolutely, like not even a question. There is no vote. There's
we like him way more than our audience likes him.
Oh yeah, for sure. This guy, like
indulge us, you assholes. Indulge us.
Oh, so Ryan, I want to do a quote here because I think it's important to kind of get Yuri's point of view, right? We need to hear from the man himself, and we always let people talk and have their piece here on the show. It's on the rule book. I liked it. I like the smell of it, the touch of metal on my skin. It's fantastic. I like the touch of sharp metal on my skin. It excites me, so I think you can understand what attracts me to this ashtray. No, Yuri, we can't.
No, we cannot.
That's why you're appearing on the show, because this isn't normal. There he is with the ashtray.
Just loving that ashtray. What a fucking weird human being this guy is.
He wanted to say it's not an old ashtray.
Therapists that are frothing at the mouth to psychoanalyze this fucking weirdo.
And it's an old ashtray too, apparently,
it's
because
all beat up and bent and dented. Yeah.
From the man himself, I generally like things with history. That's why he made a rubber sex doll that probably had like 2 years old.
The fucking night from Gigi. He puts his dick in that ashtray.
That's sums up at least one past relationship. I love that this not a new ashtray. I had contact with a large number of people. Like this guy is just like, he hits every note for Weirdo of the Year, and I think he might be Topic Thunder Person of the Year. Is that going to be our thing?
Ooh, that could be. He is an all-time Topic Thunder person.
Maybe that. See, not enough time. We didn't think enough time. Maybe for episode 100, we'll do Topic Thunder Person of the century. Or
what I can do is I can go back. I believe I have access to all of the stories we've ever done of him. We could put together a montage of him.
Absolutely, absolutely worthy of it. And to think that story originally came legit. That story, our first appearance of Mr. Yuri, originally came on a little segment we like to call the Lightning Round. I don't know who I'm trying to surprise when I do those weird little setups, but maybe just myself, and that's just all it is. I'll be waiting to see those Thunderbolts in the chat room. But ladies and gentlemen, you have entered the Thunderdome, where 3 stories enter, 1 story gets read, and you, the Thunderheads, go ahead and vote on it. So, folks, let's not dilly-dally, and we're going to get right into it. Headline number 1. Over $600 in underwear, lollipops, and a burrito were stolen from a Walmart on Sunday. Headline number 2. Dead soccer player in coffin scores goal to the delight of Chilean fans.
No.
And headline number 3. Peruvian statue's giant penis thrills tourists, but vandals are turned off. Those are your 3 stories, ladies and gentlemen. I see those Thunderbolts in the chat, and I love it. Let's I believe Margot, just Ms. Pebbles. Margot was is the name of Mr. Yuri's first sex doll wife. It's a long story.
Yeah, we will put together a montage to catch everyone up here soon.
You can go ahead and search out Yuri Tolachenko and join in on the good fun. But this might be.
We got some votes coming in, but I think we need one more time to tell everybody what the headlines are.
Oh, for sure. And I Miss Pebbles, this is the part where you get the vote. You get to tell us. This is an interactive thing, so that you get to tell us what story that we're going to dive into. And I'm going to give you the headlines one more time. So, headline number 1. Over $600 in underwear, lollipops, and a burrito were stolen from a Walmart on Sunday. Headline number 2. Dead soccer player in coffin scores a goal to the delight of Chilean fans. And headline number 3. Peruvian statue's giant penis thrills tourists, but vandals are turned off.
There's number 2. The first thought that comes to mind when I hear that number 2 story, I think of when Vladimir Putin plays in that hockey game. What's worse, that they let Vladimir Putin purposely win in those hockey games, or that they let this guy? I guess we'll hopefully learn, because number 2 is getting some votes. Candy. Oh, here we go. Ryan Hansen. Candy thief. Stiff call. Dildo. I think not.
No, Ryan Hansen with the remix. It's the Ryan Hansen remix.
So once again, because we got I'm seeing here that there's a large number of people watching along, maybe some new viewers. This is your chance to vote. Number 1, number 2, or number 3. We got a lot of votes for number 2. 1, 2, 3 votes for number 2 at this point, as well as 4. And then
I'm counting 4 for number 2. Really quick, we'll just go for those new that might be joining us just in time for the most popular segment on this podcast that Dan Brooks still doesn't listen to. Headline number 1. Over $600 in underwear, lollipops, and a burrito were stolen from a Walmart on Sunday.
That definitely happened in Florida.
Headline number 2. Dead soccer player in a coffin scores a goal to the delight of Chilean fans. And headline number 3. Peruvian statue's giant penis thrills tourists, but vandals are turned off. Those are your headlines. These are your votes. This is a democracy as long as it stands. And you will tell us which story. And it's kind of running away right now.
That looks like number 2 is running away. Come on. He's in the coffin. That's amazing. And we gotta hear how someone scored a goal in a coffin. A dead man scored a goal. So I think at this point, we're going to close the voting and say number 2 is the one that has won. Let's hear about how the dead guy in a coffin scored in a soccer game.
And I'm going to send you the link because, of course, there's a picture.
Of course.
And this is from Santiago, Chile. A dead Chilean footballer is being celebrated the world over after his former teammates arranged for him to score a goal from his coffin as a farewell tribute to his striking prowess. Jaime Escandar died in the final days of 2021, but his friends, Chilean side Acropone, they wanted to celebrate the life of the goal-scoring forward. They
Oh,
positioned his coffin in the 6-yard box, and teammate kicked the ball onto the coffin so it would rebound into the goal. Dozens of onlookers cheered enthusiastically as the ball hit the net. Dozens.
look at this picture. Look at this. They just laid the coffin in the middle of a fucking soccer field, and some asshole bounced the ball off of it so that he could score a goal.
Some let off fireworks while friends dressed in the team's green shirt knelt and hugged the coffin draped with the team's colors. Although little was known about the man, the video filmed in January 3 on the outskirts of Santiago quickly went viral with sites across Latin America highlighting the passion and devotion shown by fans. This is a quote. He brought us together. A man who filmed the scene. He leaves us in unity. We didn't think we would get shared all over the world because he was just an ordinary guy. A very different goal, one that was celebrated with pity and tears.
Ryan Hansen makes a great point. It's not as good as an open coffin bouncing the ball off of his head into the goal. Like he headed it in. That would be great. Like they stood up the coffin. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, could you imagine if Vince McMahon was behind this production? You want me to do what? Get some puppeteers in there, some steel rods. He's got to kick it.
unbelievable. That is insane.
Speaking of insane, it's insane that we're going to be coming up on episode 50 of this ginormous experiment, social experiment called Topic Thunder, the internet saloon, if you will. And we thank you for everybody for hanging out and chatting with us and making the show kind of what it is. Otherwise, it's just Ben and I maniacally barking at the moon over here. So
Telling each other about shit. Actually, just Brooks telling me stuff and me getting angry about it. It's weird.
kind of what the premise of the show and kind of how it's written, to be honest with you. But don't tell Ben that. But hey, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for participating. Thanks for listening. I see a lot of Twitch people here, so it's a very cool thing that you kind of all decided to kind of join us over here. The numbers are growing each week. So,
Miss Pebbles, once again, welcome Miss Pebbles to the Thunderdome.
Yeah, welcome to the Thunder. We hope you enjoyed your first go. Hope it wasn't, what you thought it was. We hope you learned something. We hope you enjoyed it. To everybody listening, to Ben, thank you. To everybody from the USS Rapapa, good night.